Audrey's parents were divorced. The girl's mother, Clara, not only did not maintain friendly relations with her ex-husband Thomas, but she even forbade Audrey to see her father. Thomas was allowed to see his daughter only twice a year, on her birthday and New Year, to give her presents, but nothing else. The girl was very worried about it, but she did not dare to disobey her mother. One day, when the already grown-up 16-year-old Audrey was walking down the street, she noticed that a car was following her slowly. The girl was frightened and rushed to run, but suddenly someone called her name, and turning around, she saw her father in the car. "Addie, you scared me," exclaimed Audrey. "I'm sorry, dear. I just forgot that you haven't seen my new car yet. I want to talk to you." "Let's go to the restaurant and have lunch," said Thomas, and seeing the consternation and confusion on the girl's face, added, "You can tell your mother that you're going to stay late in school." Audrey smiled and, calling her mother, said everything as her father advised. Since then, they had seen each other often, and it had pleased them both very much. But Audrey was still worried about having to lie to her mother because they had always been honest with each other, and now the girl had to constantly twist and invent excuses for secret meetings with her father. But one day, everything was revealed. Clara decided to go for a walk after work to get some fresh air, and she accidentally saw Audrey with Thomas in the park. The woman stealthily approached them and heard what they were talking about. Thomas was persuading Audrey to move in with him in the capital. "You will live in your own room in my big house. You will prepare for the college, and I will pay for everything." "But what are you going to do in this little town?" he asked. "But what about my mother? She'll be upset," Audrey muttered sadly. "Nothing. She understands that she can't give you what I can give you, and besides, I also have the right to participate in your upbringing," Thomas persuaded his daughter. "No, you have not got that right," Clara shouted furiously. Unable to stand it, she interrupted their conversation. "Isn't it too late? You remembered about her? You had a good idea. Your daughter is already grown up. No diapers, no childhood illnesses, no getting up at night. Nothing now. You finally need her. Get out of here and don't ever show up again. You gave us such a fright. Please don't do that again." "Daughter, I love you very much," said Clara in a weak voice. "Mom, please take care of her, okay?" Soon the doctor came in and asked the visitors to leave. Mrs. Perez, left alone with Audrey, did not hold back a bitter rebuke. "What have you done, granddaughter?" "My father told me everything and showed me the note in which she rejected me. I still love her, but I don't know how to forgive her," said the girl and cried. Sadly, the grandmother sighed heavily and, sitting closer, told Audrey how it really was. "Your mother told me not to tell you about it, but nevertheless, listen. Your father started cheating on your mother almost immediately after the wedding, and she forgave him everything and accepted him back, even if he wasn't home for days at a time. They worked at the same company, only in different departments. Thomas quickly became deputy CEO, and Clara worked as chief accountant. But Thomas was promoted not because of his professional qualities, but because he began to meet with the CEO, a willful and not very decent woman. She was the one who demanded that Thomas divorce your mother and marry her, and to hurt her even more, They agreed to take you away from her. They managed to do it easily. They hid the contracts and invoices and accused her of grand larceny, and they offered her a choice, divorce and rejection of you, or years of imprisonment and a broken. Oh, and fate. I was the one who persuaded her to write that note. They had it all planned out, but they didn't count on one little thing. You were a very sickly child, and you cried a lot. And one day they packed up your things and brought you back to your mother. They didn't endure even 3 months. That's it, darling, and you say, betrayed. A few months later, when Clara was on the mend, she was discharged from the hospital so that she could continue her recovery at home. Audrey never left her mother's side and helped her with everything. One day the doorbell rang. It was Thomas. He said hello to Clara and she brought him into their daughter's room. Audrey didn't understand anything and looked at her parents in surprise. Darling, your father and I talked and decided that it would be really better for you to live and to study in the capital. But only I made a condition. Your father will rent you a separate apartment nearby so as not to interfere with his family. That way he will look after you and I can visit you too. Audrey was excited and squealing with delight as she rushed to pack her things. Her mother began to help her, and Thomas, watching this, could not hide his joy that everything had worked out so well. Audrey said goodbye to her mother and ran downstairs after her father. He had already put her luggage in the trunk and was standing nearby waiting. The girl came out of the entrance, looked up, and saw her mother standing alone on the balcony. Audrey waved to her. Clara, barely keeping her sobs in check, waved back to her daughter and, unable to endure the hard minutes of parting, disappeared into her room. But Audrey understood everything. Her heart ached, and after a little hesitation, she came to the car. "Otter, get in the front seat," she said. "I'm sorry, Dad," Audrey said and opened the trunk, pulling out her suitcase. "I can't go with you. My mother needs me because I'm the only one she has. And you have family, friends, work, all alone, and I'll go home." Saying this, Audrey walked toward the entrance, turning around only for a moment and waving to her father. Thomas silently followed her with his gaze, and even when she disappeared behind the entrance door, he stood looking after her for a long time, realizing that he had lost his daughter forever.